Voters continue to turn out by the thousands to vote early in Washington County. As of today, the Board of Elections says just over 15,000 people have voted early in Washington County, either in person at the Board of Elections office or via mail. That's a voter turnout of 34%, with several days of early voting and Election Day still on the horizon. Board of Elections Deputy Director Karen Pawlowski says that amid the busyness of early voting, she has heard some early voters are considering attempting to test whether votes are being counted correctly by attempting to cast a second ballot on Election Day. She discourages anyone from trying to vote twice.
If anybody wants to definitely find out if their vote was counted, is to either call our office or look on our website to find that information, because if they're trying to vote a second time, that is against the law, obviously, and we potentially could report those people over to our prosecutor.
Residents of Washington County can vote early in person today and tomorrow at the Board of Elections from 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 in the evening. The office is also open for early voting from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday and from 1 to 5 Sunday. Mail-in ballots must be postmarked no later than November 4th to be counted.